Hey everybody, how are you doing? Happy Tuesday. I thought we could talk a little bit about the grieving process and why it's so important to really work through the grieving process so that you can move forward and get yourself into a healthy relationship with yourself, but also whoever it is that's around you. When we're grieving and we don't work through that process, it's you stay stuck. There's a lot of anger. We're going to go through the stages. But when you get stuck in one of those stages, it can't help but to just kind of work its way into so many different places in your life. So that's why it's just crucial um, to feel it. And even though it just feels, can you hear my kids? They're bouncing around on the ceiling upstairs. Um, Sorry about that. But if you don't work through it, it does start to seep into all areas of your life, whether it's through at your job or with your family or in a romantic relationship, wherever. It sits there and it just festers and festers. And then a lot of times, if you ever feel that just the smallest things set you off and you find yourself in this anger, just this deep sadness, a lot of times it's because you haven't really worked through the process of grief. I think right now there's so much in our world with coronavirus and I don't know, you name it, there's a ton of things going on in our world, and it's hard to just really stay focused and bring it down to what we have control over. And I talked a while back about the grieving process, especially in our world right now, because whether it's a loss of a relationship, a loss of a person, a loss of a job, even I don't know if you've ever even sold your car before. And when I've sold a car and I leave my car, it's almost like I was really connected to it. And even that was kind of a grieving process, because it was like, hi, I just felt so sad leaving my car behind. But then, I mean, people, animals, your pets, I mean, there's so many different scales of grief. But what I was saying is around the coronavirus and how much our world is changing every single day. Um, the normal grieving process, you get to the end and you're able to find this last stage, which is kind of like your new normal. And with the virus, it's almost like we can't get to our new normal, because as soon as we're used to it, it changes. So all of a sudden we were working from home, and then some people are going back, and now school is starting, and so it's just like it's been really tough to get to our new normal. Like, okay, now I know what to expect, because nobody knows what to expect. So this is an even tougher process for a lot of people. So if you're feeling it, if you're feeling some anxiety, if you're feeling just some sadness, just feeling kind of overwhelmed, just please know you are not alone in all of this. So the very first stage of grief is something happens. There's an experience, and immediately you go into shock and denial. That's the first stage. So it's just almost like, nope, there's no way this has happened. This must be a dream. I know I'm getting ready to wake up out of a dream. When you're in the shock and denial stage, a lot of times there's a lot of avoidance, because it's just like, I'm not even going to pay attention to that. My mind can't even wrap itself around this. So it's kind of just like a foggy, like weird kind of phase. Following that, that's usually about 3 days. Again, big spectrum, depends on what the situation is, but usually around 3 days or so. And then after the shock and denial phase, you can move into some anger, because now it's like, oh, I've got to get this out. How can I express this? What am I going to do with these feelings? I can't believe it's happened, but I think it really did. And so a lot of times you'll find yourself taking these feelings out on either the individual who you feel was responsible for this experience, or sometimes you even take it out on other people who are completely unrelated to the situation. So you definitely need to be careful about how am I expressing this, because it's coming out somehow. So a lot of anger. Um, And then after the anger sort of finds its way, or you kind of get a hold of it, then you start to sink into sadness and depression. And that's just kind of like you don't have any more energy for anything. You just want to stay in bed. You want to pull the covers up. You might call in sick to work. You might isolate. Maybe you used to have fun hanging out with a couple friends and you're like, I don't feel like talking on the phone. I don't want to do anything. And it's just a lack of energy and just a sadness. Sometimes it can feel very helpless also. So then you've got the shock, the denial, then you've got the anger, and then you've got the sadness. And the fourth stage is guilt. And that's when like maybe with the coronavirus, it's, so-and-so has lost their job and I still have my job, so I feel guilty. Or maybe you lost a relationship ended, and and you start to go back over all the things that you should have done. I should have done this. I should have called more, especially after somebody passes away, because the worst thing has happened and you start having all of this remorse about that you should have done things differently. So a lot of guilt. There's a lot of guilt. And between the shock, the first phase, and the your new normal, which is the fifth stage, is accommodation. That's kind of where it's like, okay, here we are. This is the deal, and this is my new normal, and I'm learning to live without this person, or I'm learning to live without my pet that I loved with all my heart, or I'm learning to move past this job that I lost, and now I am getting my bearings again. In between shock and accommodation, you can bounce around in the anger and the sadness and the guilt. You can bounce around there for quite some time. I really feel like the more you can feel that and work through it and process it and talk about it and write about it and acknowledge it, the more you can do that, the faster you're going to move through this stage. However, if you don't, if you want to stay in that, like, forget it, I'm stuck, I'm in this denial, I don't want to look at it, I'm going to busy my schedule, I'm going to go out there and date a million different people, I'm going to whatever the coping mechanism is at that time, if it's anything but working through that, then you tend to stay stuck. And you might dip your toes in the anger, and then it's like, nope, I don't even want to go there. You might dip your toes in the sadness. It's like, nope, I don't even want to go there either. The guilt, it can definitely take you down. So it's like, forget it. I'm not even going to pay attention to that one. And so what happens, why this is so essential to try to work through these stages, is because you can bring it into your next relationship. You can, and then all of a sudden you find yourself fighting and arguing with your new partner about things that really don't even matter. And your partner's kind of looking at you like, what is going on? And the deal is that it's not about that person. It's about you, and you're being triggered. So all this stuff is kind of stuck in this ball, like deep down inside. And all it takes is just a little flavor of something, or a song. It could even be the temperature outside. It could be a memory, a dream, something that pops up, a smell. And it's just like, it taps into that, and then here it comes. And maybe sometimes you don't even know where it's coming from, but the people around you surely don't know where it's coming from. And as much as they try to understand it, they can't understand it because it has nothing to do with them. And then sometimes you catch it, and I don't know if you've done this. If you've done this, let me know. I certainly have. But sometimes you catch it, and then it's like, oh my God, I'm doing that thing again. So then you try to like make excuses for it, and then you're just digging yourself a hole versus really stepping back and acknowledging, like, okay, here it is. I know where this is coming from, and I need to work through this. I need to take some time. I need to catch my breath. I need to do some writing. I need to go talk to somebody. Maybe it's making amends. Maybe it's saying I'm sorry. Earlier in the group, I don't know if you remember, but we did. So it was what's harder for you to say? Is it to ask for help? Is it to say the Worcestershire? Worcestershire. How do you say that? That was my number one because I can't say it. It was like, what is the hardest to say? I'm sorry, I need help. Worcestershire. And so many people said that they had a really tough time asking for help. So this is a great time to ask for help. If you find yourself stuck in this grieving process, if you find yourself getting stuck in that anger or the sadness, or you're just beating yourself up all the time, it's okay to ask for help. Trying to understand, why am I not asking for help? It's a really important question to ask yourself. Are you ashamed? Is it that guilt thing that is getting to you? Do you feel like, I should be able to handle this? I have been through worse and now this thing is really getting to me. What is it that you're having a tough time asking for help? Because, and I tell my kids this all the time, but life is not meant to go through by yourself. It's not meant to show up to your battles by yourself all the time. And there's so many people that are around. And if you're in this group, you're around a whole bunch of people. I read your comments. I see how you guys support each other. I see how you cheer each other on. And I love it. You're in a place right now where help is right here at your fingertips. So if you're needing answers to something, if you're needing clarification for something, ask a question, see what happens. And that's asking for help. That's helping you work through some of these really big feelings. And your body will let you know if you're not working through it. If you don't even need to ask the question. All you need to do is check in with yourself. And if you're on guard, if you're snappy, if you're lethargic, if you're missing out on things and you wish that you were doing it, if you've got a lot of anxiety, your body's always talking to you. So this is that time to try to pay attention, and maybe you can pinpoint some grieving. I think that we're all grieving right now because of the coronavirus in one way or another. Emotionally, we don't get to see people who we used to see and hang out with. Loved ones. It's just weird, going and seeing people who you normally just threw your arms around, and now it's like you can't throw your arms around them. So we're all grieving in one way or another right now. I had heard a statistic, it was just a fact, but it was how with coronavirus, stop, with the coronavirus, catch this, every single person in the world went through a trauma to some degree, whether it was an infant not going to or daycare, having to go to daycare, not going to daycare, having their parents be at home, having to go to work, parents getting sick, whatever, to toddlers not getting to socialize the way they used to. Same with elementary school kids, especially middle school. Middle school is all about socialization. High school, your first year, your junior year, your senior year, whatever it is. Maybe you're going off to college. Maybe you're graduating from college. Maybe you had a wedding planned. Maybe you were pregnant and now you're afraid to go into a hospital to give birth. All the way up. Maybe you're older and you can't see your grandkids or your own kids. So no matter, all the way to a nursing home, people in nursing homes that just, had to say hi to their loved ones through a window or whatever. Every single person in this world experienced some kind of trauma, and with trauma comes grief. So really kind of check in with yourself. That's why I wanted to jump on and talk about grief tonight. Because I think that it is one that's kind of overlooked, and it's like, wait, get together, pull yourself up, chop, and feel better, and we'll just do this and do this. And, there's all these like fixes for, if you're angry, then you just need to take a deep breath. If you're depressed, you just need to push yourself out the door and go make plans. If you're feeling guilty, you need to smack yourself in the face and get over it. Whatever it is, there's a fix. And I'm telling you, it's not always about the fixes. Sometimes you just have to feel it. And maybe you sit down for 30 seconds and you feel it. Maybe you sit down and you work up to 3 minutes. Maybe you work up to 5 minutes. sitting and feeling something for more than 10 minutes, I think is a little too much. I'm kind of an 8-minute person. So 10's too much, 5 isn't enough, but sometimes 30 seconds is too much. So you're the only person who knows where you are with that. But I'm really encouraging you to, one, identify these stages of grief. So there's the guilt. I'm sorry. There's the shock, and then there's the anger, and then there's the depression, and then there's the guilt, and then there's the last stage, which is accommodation. Find yourself wherever you are and just allow yourself to have some feelings. Give yourself permission and see what comes out. See what comes out. You know, with the guilt part, it's the lessons. What was your lesson? What'd you learn? What are you going to do tomorrow that you didn't do yesterday? Um, and I guarantee you, once you start feeling this, you're going to eventually not hold on to it so tightly. It'll be something that you will never forget. It'll be something that made an impact on your life, but you don't hold so tightly to it. You're able to just loosen the grip and just kind of let it be and let it be and let it be. So anyways, I hope that this was helpful for you today and wherever it finds you. I would love to hear some of your comments and your feedback, and let me know, if you're stuck in any of those stages, and maybe you've got something to offer to the group about how you were stuck in some of those stages, or you did feel some of those things, and what did you do? Were you able to feel it? Were you able to loosen the grip? And how did that impact your life? I'd love to know that part too. I hope that you all have a great day, and I look forward to hearing more from you guys. And I appreciate you trusting me to be here. So take care, have a good night, and I will talk to you soon. All right, bye-bye.